Okay, so I want to start this video by asking you to think about what a typical celebrity brand deal actually looks like. Not the polished version that gets announced in a press release, not the curated campaign images that appear on a brand's social media, not the carefully worded statements that get distributed to entertainment publications when a new partnership is confirmed. I am talking about what actually happens in the reality behind all of that. A brand identifies a celebrity with the right demographics and the right visibility and the right association value for their product. They make an offer. A contract gets signed. The celebrity shows up for the photo shoot, wears the product, says the approved words in the approved context, and the brand gets the reach and the association they paid for. It is a transaction. A sophisticated transaction, certainly, one that requires lawyers and agents and creative directors and marketing strategists and a significant amount of money moving between accounts. But at its core it is a transaction. Something of value exchanged for something of value. And it is temporary by design, because the market changes and the celebrity's cultural moment changes and the brand's strategy changes, and in a year or two or three there is a different face wearing a different watch and a different campaign and the previous partnership has become a footnote in a press archive somewhere. That is the template. That is what most celebrity brand partnerships look like when you strip away the marketing language and look at the underlying mechanics. And I am telling you all of that because what the CEO of Hublot just said about Jungkook in a recent interview is so specifically and so deliberately different from that template that understanding the difference requires understanding the template first. Because what Ricardo Guadalupe, the CEO of one of the most prestigious luxury watch brands in the world, described when he was asked about the Jungkook partnership is not a transaction. It is not a contract with an expiration date. It is not a celebrity face attached to a product for a defined campaign period. What he described is something that the luxury goods industry does not offer very often and does not offer casually, and understanding what that means requires paying close attention to the specific words he chose and the specific reasoning he offered for why Jungkook specifically warranted this specific level of engagement. Let me give you the full context of the interview before we get into the details, because context matters enormously here. The question that the interviewer asked the CEO was a direct and pointed one. It was essentially asking him to account for the decision to partner with Jungkook and to explain how Hublot intended to ensure that this was a genuine long-term collaboration rather than a fleeting marketing moment. That question, phrased that way, is itself significant. It signals that the person asking it understood the distinction between those two things and was specifically inviting the CEO to address it. And the CEO's answer was, by any measure, an extraordinary piece of candor from the leader of a major luxury brand about the nature of a celebrity partnership. He said he was very deliberate about this. Before signing anything, before any formal agreement was in place, he paid close attention to the level of engagement and motivation on both sides. He had many conversations with Jungkook and with his entourage. The goal of those conversations was to understand whether this collaboration would be truly meaningful for Jungkook, not just commercially convenient. And what he found in those conversations was something that gave him the confidence to proceed with a partnership that he was already thinking about in terms that go far beyond the typical ambassador arrangement. He had other proposals, the CEO said. Jungkook would not have chosen a simple or conservative brand. He wanted a brand that was expressive and always moving forward. And the alignment between that desire and what Hublot represents is what the CEO meant when he used the word authenticity. Customers notice the difference, he said. They always notice. Let me unpack that statement because I think it is one of the most revealing things said about Jungkook as a brand partner by anyone in a position of institutional authority in the luxury goods world. The CEO is describing a selection process that ran in both directions. Hublot was evaluating Jungkook, certainly, assessing whether he was the right fit for their brand identity and their marketing objectives. But Jungkook was also evaluating Hublot. He had other proposals. There were other luxury brands in the conversation, other options on the table, other watches or other products that could have become the focus of his first major luxury brand collaboration. And Jungkook did not choose the safe option. He did not choose the most conservative or the most established or the most predictable choice for someone in his position trying to build a relationship with the luxury goods market. He chose the expressive one. The one that moves forward. The one whose identity matches something genuine about who he is and what he values rather than simply providing the most impressive sounding name for a press release. And the CEO noticed that. The CEO saw in Jungkook's approach to the selection process evidence of exactly the kind of authenticity that makes a brand partnership sustainable rather than superficial. Because a celebrity who chooses a brand based on genuine alignment rather than pure commercial calculation brings something to that partnership that no amount of money can manufacture, which is the quality of real belief. When Jungkook wears a Hublot watch, the CEO is saying, "It does not look like an advertisement. It looks like a man wearing a watch that he actually chose." And customers, who have become extraordinarily sophisticated at detecting the difference between genuine endorsement and paid performance, notice that distinction and respond to it. That is what authenticity means in this context. Not absence of payment or absence of commercial arrangement. The presence of genuine fit between the person and the product, a fit that exists independently of the contract and that would be recognizable even without the marketing infrastructure built around it. The CEO then went on to describe the future of the partnership in terms that I think are worth taking very seriously, because they represent a significant commitment from the brand and a significant statement about what they believe the collaboration with Jungkook is capable of becoming. He said that the partnership will take different forms over time. They are both ambitious about building something that does not feel like a standard ambassador agreement. They talked about this explicitly. They both want to do different things. And that language, "we want to do different things," is not the language of a brand describing their plans for a campaign. It is the language of two parties with shared creative ambitions describing a collaboration that they see as open-ended and expansive rather than defined and contained. Think about what different things could mean coming from the CEO of Hublot in conversation with Jungkook. It could mean product development, actual creative input from Jungkook into the design or conceptual direction of future Hublot pieces. It could mean experiential events that bring together the worlds of music and luxury timepieces in ways that have not been done before. It could mean content that goes beyond the standard campaign format into something more genuinely documentary or artistic, something that captures the actual intersection of these two identities rather than just placing them next to each other for aesthetic purposes. Whatever the specific forms turn out to be, the CEO's language makes clear that both parties have given themselves permission to explore them, that neither side is constrained by a narrow brief or a limited scope, and that the ambition of both parties exceeds what the conventional ambassador arrangement is designed to contain. Now I want to talk about why Jungkook specifically is someone for whom this level of partnership is not just possible but actually makes sense, because I think the CEO's statement is not surprising to anyone who has been paying close attention to Jungkook's approach to his career and his collaborations over the past several years. Jungkook has always been someone whose relationship with the things he associates himself with goes beyond the superficial. His fashion choices, his aesthetic preferences, the way he presents himself visually in any context, have always reflected genuine personal investment rather than stylist-driven decisions made entirely for public consumption. He has taste. Specific, identifiable, consistent taste that has evolved over time in a recognizable direction. And when that taste leads him toward a brand, when he chooses to wear something or to work with someone, the choice carries the weight of genuine consideration rather than the lightness of pure transaction. The Calvin Klein collaboration, about which the CEO of that brand also spoke publicly and extensively about Jungkook's extraordinary impact, established a baseline for understanding what happens when Jungkook genuinely connects with a brand identity. The numbers were extraordinary. The cultural conversation that the capsule collection generated was extraordinary. And the reason both of those things were extraordinary is because the foundation of the collaboration was real. There was something authentic in the connection between Jungkook's identity and Calvin Klein's aesthetic, something that audiences could sense even if they could not always articulate why the campaign felt different from standard celebrity brand work. And the CEO of Hublot, in describing his conversations with Jungkook and his reasoning for proceeding with the partnership, is identifying the same quality in a different context. The quality of genuine fit. The quality of a person who actually belongs in the conversation rather than someone who has been placed in it by a marketing team's demographic analysis. It is also worth noting what the CEO said about Jungkook's ambitions within the collaboration, because this is where the story becomes most interesting from the perspective of understanding who Jungkook is as a creative force rather than simply as a commercial property. The CEO described Jungkook as someone who wants something expressive and always moving forward. That description, expressive and always moving forward, is not a description of a passive brand ambassador. It is a description of someone with creative energy and creative direction who is looking for partners that can keep up with and contribute to that energy rather than simply channeling it for their own commercial purposes. Jungkook is not looking for a brand to wear. He is looking for a brand to move with. And the CEO of Hublot recognized that and responded to it by offering exactly that kind of relationship. Let me also address something that I think is important for understanding the full significance of this partnership, which is what Hublot represents in the landscape of luxury goods and why the specific qualities that define the brand make it a particularly meaningful association for Jungkook. Hublot is not a traditional luxury watchmaker in the sense of trading primarily on heritage and historical prestige. Its identity is built around innovation, around the courage to combine unexpected materials and unexpected aesthetics, around what the brand calls the art of fusion. Bold choices. Unexpected combinations. Forward motion as a core design philosophy rather than an occasional departure from tradition. That identity, when you map it against what we know about Jungkook's aesthetic sensibility and creative direction, produces an alignment that is not manufactured but genuine. The golden magne who has spent his career refusing to be contained by any single genre or any single aesthetic register, who moves between sensitivity and power and precision and spontaneity with equal facility, who makes bold choices about his visual presentation and his musical direction that consistently surprise even his closest observers, is a natural fit for a brand whose entire identity is built on the willingness to do things differently. The CEO saw this. And the CEO acted on it. And the result is not a standard ambassador deal but something that both parties are already describing in the language of shared ambition and long-term creative partnership. The luxury watch market is also a space that is undergoing significant transformation in terms of the audiences it is trying to reach and the methods it is using to reach them. The traditional luxury goods marketing model, which relied heavily on aspirational imagery directed at established high-net-worth demographics, is increasingly being supplemented by approaches that recognize the extraordinary purchasing power and brand influence of younger global consumers, particularly in Asian markets. And within that strategic shift, the decision to partner with Jungkook is not just an aesthetic choice but a commercial intelligence move of the first order. Jungkook's audience is global, young, extraordinarily engaged, and demonstrably willing to follow his associations into new commercial territories. The Calvin Klein numbers prove this. The social media engagement metrics that accompany any Jungkook brand activity prove this. And Hublot, by securing a partnership that the CEO is already describing in terms of long-term ambition and genuine creative collaboration, has positioned itself to benefit from that influence not once but over an extended period and in forms that have not yet been defined. And this is the part one keep coming back to. The part that makes this specific interview statement more significant than the typical CEO talking points about a new brand ambassador. The CEO of Hublot is not describing what Jungkook will do for the brand in terms of reach or demographics or campaign visibility. He is describing what they will build together. The language is collaborative rather than instrumental. The framing is mutual rather than one-directional. And the explicit acknowledgement that both parties want to do different things, that neither side is satisfied with the standard template and both sides have given themselves permission to find something better, is a statement about the nature of this partnership that goes beyond anything that most celebrity brand deals produce in terms of creative possibility. For ARMY who have been watching Jungkook's post-military career with the particular attention that comes from years of investment in someone's artistic journey, this interview from the Hublot CEO lands as confirmation of something that has been increasingly visible throughout the Ararang era. Jungkook is operating at a level of creative and commercial authority that allows him to shape his partnerships rather than simply participate in them. The golden magne who once deferred to as hyungs in group contexts, who was the youngest member of a group that operated as a collective, has emerged into his solo career as someone whose individual vision and individual ambition are driving significant decisions at significant institutions. The CEO of Hublot had other options. He could have chosen a different ambassador, a safer choice, a more conventional choice for a luxury watch brand. He chose Jungkook. And the reason he chose Jungkook, the reason he articulated publicly and with considerable specificity and candor, is that Jungkook is not looking for a transaction. He is looking for a partnership. And the CEO of Hublot, after many conversations with him and with his team, decided that he wanted to be in a genuine partnership with someone of that quality and that ambition rather than a conventional transaction with someone who would show up for the photoshoot and move on. That is what is really happening between Hublot and Jungkook. Not a contract with an expiration date. Not a campaign with a defined deliverable. Not a celebrity face attached to a product for a fixed period of time. A collaboration between two parties with shared values and shared ambitions and a mutual interest in building something that neither of them could build alone. The CEO said so himself. And Jungkook, in the choices he made during the selection process and in the conversations he had before any agreement was signed, showed himself to be someone worthy of exactly that kind of partnership. This is what it looks like when an artist reaches a level of cultural authority that allows them to redefine the terms of their industry relationships. Not just accepting the deals that come to them but shaping what those deals become. Not just lending their face to a brand but bringing their vision to a collaboration. Not just signing a contract but building a partnership. Jungkook is doing all of those things with Hublot. And the CEO of one of the world's most prestigious luxury watch brands thought it was important enough to say so publicly, in an interview, with the specificity and the candor that only genuine conviction produces. Thank you so much for watching this video all the way through. Please hit the like button if this story gave you the kind of pride that it gave me. Leave a comment below with your reaction to what the CEO said because I genuinely want to hear how this landed for you. Subscribe to the channel if you are not already here because there is so much more coming from the Ararang era and I want you to be here for all of it, and take care of yourselves. Purple you always. Purple Heart.